the next topic I have here is on the Seattle Kraken. They've had some. They've had a pretty good season. They've had a lot of players overachieve. I think Christian, you have the point totals of the players, right?
I singled out just a bunch of totals that I thought were interesting, noteworthy, because they do have guys that from the original team like Jordan Everly, Yannick Gord, Jaden Swartz. They're all putting up like let's say not yeah about the production you'd expect from them. Everly's like flirting with point per game. I think he's just under, but like he was their one of their best forwards last year. But just some standouts. Obviously, Matty Beniers, right? Like the Calder front runner right now with 17 goals, 36 points, and 42 games played. I didn't get to watch the Seattle Toronto game when it happened 2 weeks ago, but I watched those highlights, and that Matty Beniers goal was gross. It was a breakaway, and he roofed it on a snapshot. Like I knew he was a two-way player. Like he's got offense and defense, but that was a nasty shot. I didn't know it was that silky smooth his release. So that was surprising. But here's more of the actual, like Brian said, quote unquote overachievers, perceived overachievers. Jared McCann has followed up his stellar season from last year with just a stellar season. 22 goals in 39 games played. Boys, is Jared McCann a 40 goal scorer? And to say that make every Leaf fan groan at what could have been.
I
Yeah, with Steve Kerfoot
wouldn't.
for him.
Isn't he a left winger too?
He's a left winger. He shoots left. And so, and this is the argument.
That's funny.
Just a little tangent here, though. Like the argument that I always hear is they protected Hall over McCann, but it's also
No. They protected Kerfoot over McCann.
exactly, right. Like you had a choice between Kerfoot and McCann. It didn't have to be McCann or Hall. It could have been McCann or Kerfoot,
Listen,
and they chose Kerfoot.
Hall has been the scapegoat for many situations. That's not the one he's the scapegoat. It's Alexander Kerfoot, who Kyle Dubas put his faith in. I believe is Kerfoot also not a Sioux? Or is Jared McCann the Sioux?
Jared McCann is the Sioux guy. Jared McCann is the Sioux guy, but also you know what they call
Dubas,
right?
go with your gut, man. What the heck?
Man,
What
you
the
gotta
heck,
try and
dude?
stick to it, right? But the other context too is it's not like Kerfoot was coming off of what the season he had last year, because last year he put up like 51 points. This was before that, so it's not like Kerfoot was putting up stellar numbers. I think he put up like 40-ish points, right? And we still chose Kerfoot over McCann. So that
Hindsight's
was a little bit
2020.
of a stinger as a Leaf fan. Hindsight
Yeah,
is 2020.
hindsight is
I do want to just give a shout out to McCann though, because I've become a big fan of him, and I actually do think that like he's legitimately this good. Like he can actually score at like a 35 game pace. His shot is another. It's nasty. He's really done some good stuff in Seattle.
I like the
Another
story.
sniper. It's a good story, right? Like
This is third team.
from Vancouver, right?
Vancouver. He was on a
For
Pittsburgh for a
Eric
bit.
Branson. He was
Yeah,
on Pittsburgh. He was on Florida, right?
Was
Like
he on Florida? Yeah, I was about to say.
yeah,
Holy
yeah. It was
smokes.
the
He's
Eric
been on a lot of teams. Yeah.
Was Markstrom? Markstrom went the other way, right? Was it Branson or Markstrom or McCann?
I'm not too sure. It
Might have
just,
been a separate deal. Yeah.
but
Anyways,
How much different do the Vancouver Canucks look right now with Jared McCann on their team? Let's get into them a little bit later, but
we will.
We've
call
got
the
some
tease.
thoughts. 100%.
Yeah.
Let's go right back into the Kraken. Another one on. I didn't even expect him. Like a player who like just doesn't get brought up. You've got Daniel Sprong on here for 14 goals in 35 games.
Wait, I just want to let you guys know this. He was a Capital at one point.
Yeah,
okay, proceed.
I was about to bring that up, Brian. So it's not just Leaf fans getting burned by the giving tree that is the Seattle Kraken.
14 goals, 27 points, 35 games played, and the kicker there, like we talked about with Boldy, 11 minutes and 17 seconds of time on ice per game. Like that's some tidy work by Daniel Sprong over here. He's nearly a point per game with 11 minutes of ice time. Who's getting 11 minutes of ice time with the Leafs? Like Pontus Holmberg?
Yeah,
nothing against
it is
Pontus Pilot, but yeah.
Pontus Pilot. Brian, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Was Daniel Sprong not the Was he not the all feet, no finish guy?
No, well, he
Was he not
well
like
we
the
yes
quick
he
forward who just could not score?
that's a good way to describe him. But we had a worse guy at the time that was that like was defined more by that named Carl Hagelin. But
Yeah.
so
He is 100% all feed, no finish.
but Sprong
Yeah.
was good offensively for us. The problem with him, well, the problem with us is that we have a coach that likes defense, Peter Laviolette,
Yeah.
and Daniel Sprong didn't legitimately doesn't backcheck. Well, with us at least. I don't know how. I haven't seen him play. Well, I don't remember seeing him play for the Kraken. I haven't seen him play at all this season. I'm pretty sure. Well, off the top of my head, but I just
Yeah.
don't. He was good offensively. He had that, like you said, he had the speed, he had the skills. But if someone doesn't backcheck, that's a huge liability, and I think that's why he didn't fit with our team, specifically on our third and fourth line, in which one is a cycle line, in which we just retain possession and play defense, and the other one is legitimately checking line. And I don't. That's why I think that Daniel Sprong, um, that's why he didn't work with us. But he's probably getting top 6 minutes with the Kraken. No,
No, and 11 minutes a nice
Oh,
time,
11
man.
minutes. That's
11
right. He's
minutes
No,
is
but
like
time on ice
third
per
to
game.
fourth.
like
Yeah,
top,
man.
is he at least playing with like a top six winger or sorry, a top
I'm
six
sure
center?
it's playing. I'm sure it's playing on the
That's
power
a
play. I'll
good
pull up the
question.
depth chart. Let's take a look. He's definitely
I gotta
going
have
to
a
be
look at
benefiting
that.
from power play time. And the other thing as well, the same conversation we brought up with Boldy, it's almost definitely sheltered minutes. Like
Yeah,
they're going to make sure he's playing in certain spots. He's on the fourth line right now with Morgan Geeky, who has 15 points, 32 games, so nothing crazy, but decent for a fourth liner. And Brandon Tanev, who's another X Factor guy that I've got here. Then in terms of points, I am curious how many power play points he has.
there was a
I'm
time
gonna have to take a look. Yeah,
specifically with not I was going to say Connor Sheary, not Connor Sheary, Daniel Sprong. He played with a Backstrom line, and I just remember Backstrom just sending him great passes, but it just wasn't working out. There's just something not with him with us. Maybe it was an organizational fit, or maybe Lavi would just up him, right? Like we're just bothering him. You gotta backcheck, you gotta backcheck. But I don't know. Glad to see him doing well now, I guess.
he's got 9 power play points. So out of his 27, 9. So that's not crazy out of whack.
About a third.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, so that's not like this is impressive. It's not just power play cookies. Um, so we'll see like how sustainable this is. Like every once in a while a player can do this, but this is in 35 games played. We'll see if he can keep this up over let's say 60 games played. I brought up Brandon Tanev, and I have him here. 8 goals, 22 points in 42 games for a fourth liner to be putting up a 40 game or a 40 point pace. Like to me, Brandon Tanev is the identity player for the Seattle Kraken. He's an original Kraken. He had that stupid headshot because of what he did with the Penguins, right? Like he's a fan favorite. Crash and just he's a crash and bang guy, and now a little bit of the offense sprinkled in there. You cannot go wrong with Brandon Tanev. He's a guy I'd have on my team, even at his prohibitive cap it. Like he's making 3.5 until 2025. That's like that is a
It's a
lot.
bit tough. It's a bit tough.
But man, I'm a big fan of his. I'm a very big fan. This guy's fast. This guy penalty kills. And
He
yeah, if
he has
he's
heart
giving you
too.
some
He's in
offense,
your
I love him.
face too. He's
Yeah.
in your
Yeah,
face. Like
he's
he's literally
everywhere.
you cannot get rid of Brandon. Him and actually like if you watch his brother Chris,
Yeah,
I know he's on D, but like both of those guys, they'll just like they're up in your face every
they got
whistle.
death in their eyes, man.
They
Like
really do. I
they
don't know
will kill
what
you.
I don't know what happened in the Tanev family, but oh my god, the two of them, every whistle. Like I remember I was at a game against Calgary watching Chris Tanev play, and or was Brandon. I honestly
I
it
think
could honestly
it
be
had to
either
be
one.
Probably
Chris.
was Chris.
It
Yeah,
had to be Chris
I
unless
think
it
it
because
was
was Chris.
Vancouver.
Well, it was
Right?
last
Yeah.
year, yeah. So it was Chris.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was just like like every shift, it was like the same thing.
I'm pretty.
And
These
I
guys are
noticed,
pure work ethic.
I
yeah,
remember seeing
100%.
a lot of Brandon Tanev when he was a Penguin, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, he like
And he was a fan favorite there too. Like he
he's
was good for them.
he's a really good player. I just think that for the cap it's a little bit expensive. But if he's
it's
putting up,
yeah.
but
It is.
but
It is.
if he's putting up numbers like that, like what he is this season,
Yeah.
you're
You,
getting
but listen,
value.
we talk about like we always go back to our own teams just because we're familiar with it. 3.5 million. That's what Kerfoot's making.
Kerfoot or
Even if
Tanev?
Brandon Tanev was putting up 15 points instead of 22, because I think 22 is like what Kerfoot has right now. Let's say we were losing offense with Tanev. Dave, what do you think? Like, I honestly might prefer Tanev. Maybe this is just grass is greener on the other. It's an always green on the other side. Wishful thinking, but
grass is greener.
Yeah.
But like, he's something that the Leafs don't appear to have an overabundance of. But they appear to have an overabundance of guys like Alex Kerfoot who are, more silky. Kerfoot's the jack. I always call Kerfoot the jack of all trade, master of none. Like, he'll do anything.
Yeah.
You want him to play first line left wing, he'll do it. Not as good as an actual first line left winger. You want him to play third line center, he'll do it. Not as good as a third line, like a proper third line center. So maybe if you have a more defined guy like Brandon Tanev is your energy guy. That guy's going into corners and causing havoc, just wrecking shit, basically, right? He's going to be a nuisance. That's what he is. Again, $3.5 million. That's a lot of money. But I think grass is greener on the other side. Like, I do have that thought, but man, how good Brandon Tanev would look in a Leafs jersey this year, maybe playing in the same role that Kerfoot is,
So,
could always thing, right?
So we have a fourth line swinger, fourth liner, checking forward. That's the main thing. Putting up numbers like this.
But he's fourth line. He's playing fourth line, but he also plays second line as well. Like, he moves up the lineup like
he's probably perfect on a third line. Like, honestly, like 100%. As a complimentary player on a third line. And honestly, once again, like, let's say there's an injury. Damn it, who am I going to throw at first line left wing? I would not honestly hate Brandon Tanev at first line left wing for like just spot work, right? Like just I got to plug a hole here for one night.
Listen,
right?
On the Leafs,
he's not doing damage for you on any line.
On the Leafs, man, if you have a guy like Bunting on your team and a guy like Brandon Tanev on your team, man, that's two of four lines where at any given time of the night you have somebody just literally like getting under people's skin. Like people,
other team has to keep their head up.
Are those all the Seattle players we have?
I've got a little bit. I got a couple more that are positives, and then I have one that's negative here. We'll go through these a little bit quicker. Vince Dunn having a banner year, 31 points in 42 games. He's basically become Seattle's number one defenseman. Offensively oriented. He is like strikingly similar to me to original Vegas Golden Knight defenseman. He's Shea Theodore. He's Seattle's Shea Theodore.
Yes.
So honestly, you can do worse than that. I think he might be due for a deal. I want to say he's a restricted free agent though. He is, yes, he's RFA. So let's say he puts up 60 points. Like he's in line for a deal too. They're gonna have to lock him up. He can probably get upwards of like 5.5, anywhere between 5.5 and 6.5, depending on how
currently at 4.
Metrics are. Yeah,
I like Dunn on the Kraken because he knows like what it takes to A, win a cup, and B, he knows what an quote unquote elite demon in Parayko and Pietrangelo were for Pietrangelo for the Blues at the time, right? But now he gets to do it on his own team, if that makes sense, right? And man, those numbers are impressive. Shea Theodore is good.
He's the QB for their power play as well.
Shea Theodore is a good comparable. We all know how good Shea Theodore was, or arguably
he still is,
yeah, for Vegas, right? Obviously, they've gone through their ups and downs, changes, because it seems like every free agent that comes up goes to Vegas, right? But no, I like that. I like the player on the Kraken. I like them, to be honest. Like everything they've done from this season forward. Last season was a little shaky just because expectations were high, but man, even just going through player by player this time around, they're impressive.
There's depth, man.
Yeah,
I have one question though.
Yeah.
How did Jamie Alexiak finesse a 4x4.46 deal? Holy smokes!
Is that what he's making?
Purely on frame.
Oh, sorry, 5x4.46. Holy smokes!
And what's Dunn making?
Dunn's making four. That's an inherited deal from, I think, Seattle.
Yeah, from
Seattle.
Seattle.
St. Louis. Sorry.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
you're right.
I know.
Dude, oh my God! Shout out Jamie Alexiak, dude. He was a
whoever his
7D
agent is, man.
Yeah.
Oh you know what it is? He went into the negotiations, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're Penny Alexiak's brother.
Your Penny's brother." Instant
give 4 couple extra pennies
right there. Gotta give him a couple extra pennies.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm on a roll today.
There's
you got some interesting stats here, Christian. Though, like I don't know if you want. Oh, I guess actually we should talk about another player you have on there, just because we did talk about him before.
Well, very very quickly, bring him up, Dave.
Dude, Eli Tolvanen looks like he's found his first round potential spark, man. 5. I know it's only 5. Like it's only 8 games so far, but 5 goals, 7 points in 8 games. Wow. If he could keep something consistent going, that's a humongous steal from the Seattle Kraken.
What was he drafted at?
On waivers, boys.
30.
On waivers.
On waivers. Yeah, he was 30th pick, if I'm not mistaken. Because that was the year. That was the year that Nashville
they went to the final. Yeah.
I think that was the final year. Yeah, 100%.
And then he did historic stuff in the KHL. Like remember, like everyone was hyped for Eli Tolvanen.
Yeah,
I think he set like rookie records in the K with Jokerit over there. So
NHL 18.
There was hype.
NHL 18 he gets like 98 overall.
Dude, I swear he was like a high franchise potential in like NHL 18. No, it was insane. I remember Eli Tolvanen being the 1 year away from being 1 year away type of guy where it was like he's coming, and when he comes, just watch out. And then he came, and it was like, yeah, he's okay, but like out of something that like somebody that people were getting like so hyped over, it just looked like he kind of fell to the wayside. And it was an unfortunate circumstance in Nashville. I think maybe just that change of scenery, going out west, getting those sea lungs on you. Maybe that helped him out a little bit. He's breathing in that ocean water right now. So probably don't get a lot of that in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay,
but
honestly,
you know what? Good for him, dude.
I'm happy for him, and like they're making a habit of this, boys. Like Daniel Sprong, Eli Tolvanen,
Misfit Toys.
They've got a little business going on here. Misfits in the same sense as Vegas, just 1 year delayed. I think the biggest takeaway with Eli Tolvanen is still not even what he's doing with Seattle, but the fact that no other team stepped up to claim him on waivers. Dude, that was still the big story there.
I'm surprised we didn't, to be honest. At the time, we were like banged up.
Man. Yeah. Arizona, like whoever was number 1, just do it. You throw him out there. You give him a bunch of ice time. If he does something, you flip him at the deadline if you don't want him, or if you do like what you see, then solid. If not, you're a bottom feeder anyways. It won't hurt you. Okay. So those are all the positives. Slight note on this, we won't go too much in depth, but one of the steals of the offseason, once again, perceived steal, was Bjorkstrand, right? They got him for like a third. Everyone's like, oh my God, he becomes basically one of Seattle's best forwards, right? Because this is after Burakovsky signing. You put Burakovsky and probably Beniers ahead of him, but then you look at Bjorkstrand's track record in Columbus, you might say he's the number 3. He's been very pedestrian for them. So it's incredible to see that Seattle's doing this in spite of Bjorkstrand not doing well. Imagine if he picks it up as well, if he finds his groove. And then the goaltending is known at this point. Like
they suck.
Jones and Grubauer, they suck. They're bad.
Yeah, we went from mediocre to
decent. Yeah.
We went from mediocre to horror awful right now, yeah.
Horror awful. Very good adjective.
So let me ask you.
They were really bad.
So let me ask you guys this. We've all seen Vegas's methodology behind the way they wanted to succeed. Sign everybody.
Go big or go home.
Exactly.
That's the Vegas way, baby.
No loyalty.
But do you guys think that there's something special here with Seattle which they can build upon instead of just going for mercenaries? They can build like an army instead of just hiring guns, right?
I think they're doing it right.
Yes.
They're not they're like, if you're saying like special, I thought by special you were saying like they were going to go on a run this year. I don't think it's that type of I don't think it's going to be like that. Like Vegas's first year is and will always be a complete anomaly. Like you will never see something like that ever happen again. But if you give Seattle, I would say 3 years. I know that they're doing really good now. The most likely, at the time of recording, they're in a playoff spot, playing really well. They'll most likely end up with their first playoff appearance this season. I don't think that they're going to get too far, but it is something to build upon. And I think within the next 3 years, they'll definitely have I honest to God think a cup contending team. Like I would say top 5 in the league with the way that they're building out from not even the back, because they're clearly not building out from the complete back.
No.
They're building out from the back end with their D. Having guys like Vince Dunn there. We mentioned Jamie Alexiak before. Other guys there too. They're middle-aged guys. Justin Schultz.
I'm happy for him too.
Carson Soucy.
Adam Larson's on their top pair.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, like Adam Larson's been kind of good. He actually I think he tied or set the record for best plus minus in a single game in I don't know how many years.
Is he on their top 7 pair?
Yeah, probably, Vince Dunn and Adam Larson is their top pair.
I never hated him.
He was plus 7 in the game, man. Sorry?
I was gonna say I thought he was getting less time than he was in, because it just felt like on Edmonton he was just getting thrown into all. It was like all situations. Just Adam Larson.
They were trying to justify the trade, right? It's like, oh my god, he does everything. He's incredible.
I never hated
him. Put him on the power play. No.
I just didn't like, making the trade for Taylor Hall for him, right?
Yeah,
you lose that trade. Like that trade was lost as soon as that trade was done. Right?
I think we can give Adam Larson not benefit of the doubt, but I think we can forgive him now.
He's top 4 on almost every single team in the league.
Yeah, he can be a 4. He can be a 4. Right? He's a minute eater, and he's actually played sound defense for the Kraken. That's all I got on individual notes. You guys have anything to add individually, and then we'll get into a little bit of team stuff.
In regards to the Kraken specifically, they're putting up a performance like this, right? But they have a wild card just sitting right now in the OHL. And if this is the push they're making, okay.
No. You're gonna suggest this? Oh boy.
I'm not gonna say call him up, but I'm not gonna say they're gonna make a run. But next season, 2 seasons from now, when Shane Wright is ready, man, they're gonna be lethal.
I thought you were gonna be like wild card, as in this is a trade chip. That's honestly.
Oh no. Okay. I will never trade an A-tier prospect. I've seen that happen already.
Yeah.
Never again. But
and listen, we saw the parallel already. We'll continue making the Vegas parallels. Who was the Shane Wright of Vegas that they traded?
Suzuki.
Nick Suzuki. Right? So don't follow in their path that way. And another thing, something Vegas did not hit on, their first pick as a franchise. Who was Vegas's first pick as a franchise? Do we remember they had 3? Cody Glass, who I was I really liked him as a junior, and I wish he did well. He's also in Nashville now. He's not really doing much. He's still trying to find his way. But Matty Beniers, knocked it out of the park. Knocked it out of the park.
100%.
That was a give me though.
It was, but man,
that was. You know what? I'll be honest with you. That was a gimme, but that was also a weird. Nobody had played hockey at that. None of the kids, had played hockey at that point for months. You know what I mean? That could have went south quick for some teams. They did end up making the right pick, and it was a justified pick as well. But that could have went a different way if that was I don't know. Who knows?
There's one more thing I just wanted.
They could have overthought it, right? They could
100%.
Well, okay. There's one more. Well, the other 2 guys behind him were McTavish and Luke Hughes, right? So I don't know. You don't really lose out.
Luke Hughes can usurp him. Yes, but I take him over. I take Beniers over McTavish.
Yeah.
And this is Brian. This is USNTDP product. Matty Beniers up against Canadian McTavish, right? So right?
But there's
Hey,
there's
Why? Yeah,
there's one more thing I just
don't
wanted to
talk too much on. Don't talk too much on Mason McTavish. I chirped him once at a Mississauga Steelheads game, and he
I'll
definitely
never
heard
forget
me.
it.
there's
He definitely
I'm
heard me
sure he
too.
hasn't forgotten, Dave. He
there's
has
one
I don't
not.
think he has.
there's one more thing I want to bring up before we go on break. I know you have your team stats for Seattle,
Yeah, we'll
but
do them after. Yeah,
specifically for Seattle, who's their GM?
Ronnie
Ronald
franchise, baby.
franchise.
Yes.
Hey, we got the same thing.
Does
Dave,
this
yeah.
not does this team right now not kind of remind you of like the Hurricanes from like 3 4
Carolina.
years?
I
Yeah,
was
dude,
just about to
they
say
didn't get
this
credit
is
either, man. Like Francis got
yeah.
no credit for that team, bro.
He
He didn't
got
get
It's because they
ripped
credit.
on
weren't.
for the
Yeah,
first year.
they
Yeah,
weren't. Well, they also weren't playing like this. You know what I mean? I think
Yes.
when Rod came in was when the culture in that locker room changed,
100%.
and so did the W started to get like that. The W started picking up right after that. Once they hit that bunch of jerks era, that was peak Carolina
They
Hurricanes
got
hockey
they
right
got
there.
good 2019, the year they beat us, but Francis was still with the Hurricanes at the time, right?
Yeah,
Like that was their coming out
he
party.
never got
But
credit
listen,
either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like I know we're gonna give Francis his pat on the back, but all like I will say like Don Waddell, like that guy doesn't make bad moves either. He's made in my estimation, I'd say he's made one flat out bad move, and we were all saying it was a good move at the time. Actually, I wouldn't say we were all saying it, but there was potential. The Kotkaniemi offer sheet. I'd
oh
say that's
yeah,
the only deal that's
yeah.
aged poorly. But that guy stole Nino Niederreiter. He's got Martini
Sento.
Cash. Like he. What'd you say?
He
There?
he let go of Alek Nedeljkovic at the absolute spot on perfect time.
Perfect
Yes.
time. And I don't. And what we actually saw, he cleared waivers, so nobody thought they could reclaim, make him a reclamation project. So I just want to give kudos to Don Waddell too, as much as I do like Ron Francis. Don Waddell is a guy who, like, he's as much as I talk about like the make the moves that Tampa Bay would make for the Leafs. There's been so many times where Don Waddell comes and snatches up the guy I want, and you're just like, God damn it, Hurricanes! Like they're really progressive, very progressive front office.
Christian, what was the last point you had with the Kraken?
It's just some team stuff. They've got a weird mix of metrics. So they're second in goals for per game, behind Buffalo actually, which is interesting. 17th in goals against per game. We talked about their goaltending not being the best. They're not a team that generates a ton of shots. They've got a pretty wicked shooting percentage. I think it's like above 10 as a team. 23rd in shots per game at 29.8. And their special teams is not good at all, boys. It's 18th on the power play, and they're second last in PK, only behind the Canucks, which that is no compliment at all. So it's weird for like a team here that, based on shots per game, you wouldn't say they pepper goalies like the Devils or the Hurricanes, who are like the cream of the crop 5-1-5. We're like, oh, those guys, the transition game's good. They take care of the puck, yada yada. Seattle's not necessarily that, and they're also not like PK specialists. They're not like sometimes a team gets into the playoffs just because they're good on special teams, and they're kind of cheating the game 5-on-5, but they're able to sneak in. That's not what the Kraken are either. I don't know what the Kraken are. They're a high scoring team who also let in a lot of goals, but also suck on the power play and penalty kill. I don't know. Like, and this comes to a head because who is the coach? Who's in charge of the system? It's Dave Haxtell. And I just want to bring him up because I feel like nobody ever brings him up in the hockey media when they're giving their kudos to the Kraken. And I'm not giving my kudos to Dave Haxtell. I don't know what to make of him, honestly, as a coach. We've seen good results with the Flyers, bad results with the Flyers. Pretty bad results with the Leafs as an assistant coach. Bad results for the Kraken last year, and whatever happens this year. And I just want to put it out there, like he gets no talk in the Jack Adams conversation. Maybe that's for a good reason, maybe not. We'll keep an eye on that as the season goes along, and we'll see how the Kraken's record ends up, and that might tell us if he's in that conversation or not. So that's all I got on Seattle, boys.
If the Kraken make the playoffs this year, let's be honest, in that division they probably could. I wouldn't be surprised if Dave Haxtell is in the conversation. I'm not a Dave Haxtell guy personally, or at all. But
I don't think any of us are. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying
Well,
to be
Brian,
partial here.
Brian,
I'm trying not to be partial, but
let's tell the crowd what you told us during our little break here. Where did you think Dave Hochstall was?
Like unemployed.
locked in some basement somewhere, just in a
Somewhere
dark,
in the
dingy
basement of
room.
Philadelphia.
I thought that once he
Locked up.
once he got sacked from the
You let
Flyers,
him.
he just like vanished
Yeah.
and he got this job somehow. But apparently, I just found out right now that he was the Leafs assistant, and that's mind blowing to
For a
me.
year.
For a year, yeah.
Listen, it was only for a year, so
And
it's
listen,
fair
yeah,
enough
if he was
you know.
good, you would have either heard about him or he would still be here, and neither is the case. So
Yeah.
But yeah,
Honestly.
interesting stuff, guys.
So hold on, one quick point. This can all those stats that you read out to me, Christian, can spell one of two things. I think one thing is more likely. They are playing on an absolute heater right now. You said second goals for, 17th goals against. When that scoring does eventually, and it will, dry up, because, let's be honest here, they don't have superstar elite talent outside of, maybe a Matty Beniers. I don't know if you could call Jared McCann superstar elite. He's playing like he is.
he's got shooting talent. That's it.
He does.
Not that's
yes.
it, but that's his forte.
Yeah, that's his forte. Once that offense does dry up, though, we are going to see a real test out of, is that defense resilient enough to carry that horrible goaltending tandem in Philip Grubauer and Martin Jones through it? And will that also be this year? They could they could be hot for the rest of this year, 100%. Now then, it's the next year. It's next year where, maybe you're going to want to change up a couple of things. So to kind of avoid putting yourself in that situation. So it's just, something to keep your eye on. And I think those team stats also do go hand in hand with like the individual stats. Like you could see, like, dude, second goals for, like you could tell Brandon Tanev's got 8 goals on the fourth line. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do we say? Daniel Sprong's got 14 playing third line minutes, basically fourth line minutes.
I hate that I'm gonna say this. I hate that these words will leave my mouth. But maybe Dave Hochstall finally has created the system, or maybe it's just Ron Francis. We'll never know.
Maybe.
But
Maybe it is.
Well, we won't know until if they ever get another coach, and then we can be like, okay, Hagstall was actually holding this team back. This team was going to win a Stanley Cup, but he just made them a fringe playoff team. Maybe that's the case, boys. Right?
Listen, I don't think Dave Hochstall could stop the rubber. I'll be honest with you. So
yeah,
I still think
right.
they gotta improve there.
He's Hagstall, not Ron Hextall. You're absolutely right.
That is 110%.
One more thing to add, because I was supposed to bring this up right at the beginning. They are the first team in NHL history to sweep a 7-game road trip. So kudos to them on that front. And they've said they're on a heater. Specifically, they're on an 8-game win streak. Something to keep an eye on.